Welcome everyone to Sunshine Ladies and Raveling Tales, where a group of bookish friends take you on our reading journey. We bring you TBR recommendations, exclusive bookish interviews, and event shenanigans. I'm Carrie, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Heather, Nikki, Rebecca, Reed, and Steph. For this bonus episode, we are going to chat all things intro to Romantasy 101. Let's start off with what each of us is currently reading. I always have multiple reads going, but my main one I'm focused on right now is an arc read for Demon with Benefits by Aurora Asher. I am loving it so far. But the overall vibe, I would say, is fun. It is obviously about demons, so it is a little dark, but it's a very fun read. I have enjoyed the other two that I have read in that series so far. What is a trope that I enjoy from it so far has been it's kind of an enemies to lovers, but maybe not quite that extreme. They just should not be together. They are from opposite species. They are enemies technically, but they're not with each other. And it's great. The way the whole thing has been playing out is just great. Where the rating would fall for me right now is, I'm going to easily say it's going to be probably 4.5, maybe even 5-star.
All right. I am currently reading the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. I just finished the first book in the 5-book compilation, and right now I'm at a solid 4.75 stars. The overall vibe is definitely dark. She is a serial killer. So we got those gory elements as well. One of the tropes is definitely forbidden romance, because we've got FBI man with a serial killer. So anybody who likes a good thriller and twists and turns and plot twists galore would probably really enjoy this book as well.
So I currently have 2 books. I always have an audiobook everywhere I go. So currently I am finishing up the Red Lips and White Lies series. So I'm on Breathtaking by Bella Matthews. And then I'm also doing an arc for Ice Contact by Ellie Drake. Loving both of them. The first one, it's kind of like a whole universe. So she has 30 books, I think, in this entire universe. So once I'm done, I'm going back to the beginning. It's kind of like a mix of hockey vibes and football vibes and a big family from this one town. So I'm obsessed with it. It's already a 5 stars. If you give me I'm kind of one of those people where you give me a book, accidental pregnancy, surprise pregnancy, marriage of convenience, that shit, that's my butter and bread. I love it already. So highly, highly recommend. Love it. Also, I'm a big sports nerd, so it hits my vibes for me. So yeah.
So I'm currently reading / listening to at the same time Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Yeah. So this is the second book in the series, of which there's 3 currently, I think, in this one. And overall vibes, I would give it's a cozy, even though there's a lot of death and decapitation in it.
Decapitation, yeah.
But it's kind of rom-com-y. I'm a rom-com girl. It's vibes. I need something kind of like, it's very rom-com-y. It's kind of fun, very kind of fairy tale / more contemporary in a fantasy world, romance. The thing I love most about this book, I'm not even gonna lie, is the fun sidekick characters. Kinsley, the magical frog,
my favorite too.
Kingsley
honestly.
and his signs. Yeah,
I love it.
So, but it's kind of enemies to lover, not quite enemies to lovers, and then I think for those that would like this book would be people who this would be a good book for those that are trying to get into the fantasy world, because it's not huge world building, bite size to get into it. And if you want something light, because while there is I'm not the horror girl, I don't like super dark stuff, but this is really fun and lighter. And then it's at least a 4. I haven't finished it yet, but it could be a 4.5 when I'm done.
Shout out to Hannah. She will be at Romantasy BookCon this October in Orlando as a ticketed author, and it is going to be a 4-book series. She has confirmed. The 3rd book comes out in August, right before RBC.
Also, shout out if you haven't met her. She's one of the sweetest people there. She came to the New Romantics and did some signings. And I didn't even know that she was there. So I was talking to Jane, her books were on the table. And I was like, oh my God, I love these books. Like, it would be so cool to meet her. And she was right behind me. She goes, hey, that's me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she was so sweet the whole time we were talking to her. I was like, this girl.
She is a bundle of joy. Sure.
Anytime you tell her, like, I was like, I love these books. They're so fun. And she was like, I'm going to cry because I wasn't expecting all of this. So, and I always think
So
that's
the
like
third book comes out in October or August?
August, and
yeah.
she says it's her favorite one that she's written so far. So
And
the
most
slow burn
romantic.
better quit slow burning. That's all
slow
I'm saying.
burn.
Needs to end.
I want all of the cheeky humor. I haven't dived into those yet, but I'm excited to. I really
You
need
would love
to.
them.
It's a fun
Yeah.
read. It's
I'm
really
sure.
good.
It's great.
They're on my shelf for sure. So I am currently reading, I just finished Of the Stars and Sea by Brianna Remus. And so this was my arc. And then I ended up, because she's kind of local, ended up finding this at our book crawl, and she signed it, which is super cool.
Gosh, that cover is so pretty.
So,
it is so pretty.
It really is.
That's
awesome.
really nice.
So as you can tell, it is a pirate romance. So she describes it as like Pirates of the Caribbean meets The Treasure Hunt of the Mummy meets the romance of Pride and Prejudice. So super, super good. It's the start of a series. The ending was a cliffhanger. So I'm pretty sure I know what happens, but so yeah, overall vibes, super good. She's a badass FMC who's a captain of her own ship and meets up with the villain of her story and who she assumed was a villain is the captain of like a bigger ship, and they kind of both need this treasure and this treasure hunt, and they join up on it. So yeah, super fun pirate treasure.
You know what they say about big ships.
I know, right? Yes, the
They
spice
can
is
catch
spicy.
big fish.
Yeah, it was a good one. And then I'm also maybe a third of the way through Shield of Sparrows by Debney Perry in my audiobook too. So loving that one as well.
I'm also reading that one.
Yes.
Yeah, so I am reading Shield of Sparrows, like you said. I'm actually not quite as far as you are. I'm closer to the beginning. But I do have to say, since we're having Samantha Brentmore, the narrator, on the podcast,
Yes.
I have to just speak to her narration already. I am absolutely obsessed with her voice, her demeanor, her delivery, the conviction. It's all so good. So I'm excited to meet her, chat with her. And I'm also making my way through L.J. Andrews' Broken Souls and Bones. It's dark, it's steamy, and the audiobook is not one that you want to listen to when you are completely focused on other things. It's like, I'd even say the immersive reading is best when you can actually read along and listen, because the audiobook is so good. I would not want to consume this story without listening.
We were recently asked to make an episode talking about romantasy as a genre for maybe somebody who was new to it, has never explored this genre before, what they would need to know, where they could start, things like that. So I just want to put it out to our little panel here, books or series that we started with and why that was a great starting point into the series. For me, I started with ACOTAR, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It explores a lot, a lot of different types of magic and the human world, also with the magical fae world. It's not as intense as maybe some of her other books. I think ACOTAR itself, the very first book in the 5-book series, is a really good way to dip your toes into the magic in the fantasy world. The characters are all extremely lovable. ACOTAR, you just got to get through it. And then once you get to ACOMAF, which is the second book, then you're gonna fly through it from there.
Actually, the first one though, reading it again just recently, I forgot how young it actually feels. It is really, really easygoing to get into the world.
Yeah, if you read 2 through 5, you have a better appreciation of 1. For sure, because it's definitely needed to build the world, as Sarah J. Maas is excellent at world building and laying out that foundation for her future books in the series. So if you want a good, starting point, I would say that, or The Apprentice, no, the first one, Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. That's also a really good intro book.
I mean, it kind of depends on what you consider romantasy, because growing up, we didn't use the term romantasy. It's kind of like a newer thing, but I feel like there was books when I was younger. Technically, maybe Twilight could be considered, even though it's in the modern world. It's about like the vampires and all that stuff. So that's kind of the books that I started with. Or like, so when I like got back into reading, I started, like Heather, with ACOTAR. That's what I started with. And then, funny enough, I read Fourth Wing, which also was, a good introduction into like a lot of world building. And then I actually started reading the Shadowhunters series. And the show was really good. I liked it. I'm sad. I was mad when they were like, we're canceling. I was like, no.
Same. After what happened with the movie, I was so mad they did it again with the show. I was so mad. I was hot.
I just feel like, I'm gonna throw this out there. I feel like all the good shows they toss away, and then they keep all the like cruddy ones. Like, I don't want to say this because I feel like I'm gonna get hate, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Don't get hate.
I've never read like some books. Like, I've never read any of the Colleen Hoover books, but they have so many movies, and I feel like it just gets such a bad rap. And I don't know, I've never read them. I don't have an opinion on it. I just see what I see on like Book Talk and the internet and all that stuff. So it makes me hesitant to like read and watch those types of things. But then when everybody is like, oh, Shadowhunters was great. And then I was talking to one of my friends. She's like, oh, Shadow and Bone had a show and they canceled it. And she was like, it was one of the best cast shows I've ever watched. And I'm like, I wish we had more of that stuff. But I'm excited for all the different shows that they're hopefully coming out with soon. So
yeah. I love adaptations. I mean, that's one of the best things about reading, is to see how in other ways the art can be depicted, whether a video game to a show or a video game to a book and vice versa. It's just another representation of an amazing story, just like Arcane. Arcane was a video game. I've been watching that lately. It is one of the best animated renditions of art that I've ever seen. It's such an art piece. You can tell that they didn't do budget cuts and deleted scenes to save money. They added in texture to make it that much more beautiful and gripping. And that's why it won an Emmy. You guys should check it out. It's so good.
So how I got into the romantasy genre was Fourth Wing. So I kind of came from like beach reads, rom-com style books, and Fourth Wing I felt was a great, like I went from not kind of like a reading dry spell of not reading a lot to devouring Fourth Wing very quickly. And of course I got into it after Iron Flame already came out, so I was able to go like jump right into Iron Flame.
Same.
To solidify my fandomhood of the series. But what I loved about it was that I felt like while you're in, it takes you away into this great world. Because Rebecca Yarros does an amazing job with her descriptive scenery and everything. It was bite-sized. It started off very small. You're in a very, you're really focused on the immediate area that you're in. And then slowly the world gets bigger and bigger as you're reading it. And so it's kind of, you can digest it a little bit easier if you're not used to the fantasy world, to kind of get into it and build off it. Because I know when I went from that to ACOTAR afterwards, well, I agree. ACOTAR is also a great one to come into if you haven't joined the genre. I do think I was able to, in the later books, grasp it a little bit faster once it expanded kind of quickly in the later books, because I kind of had gotten used to now how those style books world build.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I was not typically a reader growing up, and I was a lot more into the movies and the TV shows and that kind of thing. And so, of course, I watched Twilight and I watched Harry Potter before I read them. Like, I think with Harry Potter, I watched 1 and 2 and then started reading like 1, 2, 3, and then I would read the book and then the movie would come out. Then I'd read the book and the movie would come out. And there was so much more in the books that they didn't show in the movies because the movies had to be cut to 2 hours. And so Romantasy, like my intro to Romantasy in a book form, was Fourth Wing. And my best friend and neighbor ended up bringing it over to me because she's a big, huge reader, and she brought it over to me while I was just on a leave of absence with surgery. And so I was home doing nothing, and I was like, going to catch up on Game of Thrones or something. And she was like, no, this has dragons, like you have to. And I've always been a fantasy nerd. I've always loved Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Twilight, anything related to that. But it always was a TV show first or a movie first for me instead of a book. And so she's like, nope, it's got dragons. You're going to love it. Just try it.
What a great gift.
So, and I was like, look what you made me do. So, Fourth Wing, yes, I agree with Rebecca. Like, it was super easy to grasp onto, and my intro to spice was 50 Shades of Grey, and then my intro to fantasy was like, everything before that. But I love this book. I love that it is a completely different book the second time around, because Rebecca is super good at these Easter eggs that Sarah J. Maas does it as well, where she plants these little things that you don't really know what it is in the moment, but when you go back,
game.
Yes, like when you go back on a reread, it is a completely different story, knowing what you know by the end of it. And so I am hooked. So yeah, I highly recommend Fourth Wing to anybody wanting to get into it that loves dragons and loves fantasy and just is ready for some spice, or loves the romance and is ready for some dragons.
Absolutely. And I wrote a few thoughts down, thinking about the genre, the merge of romance and fantasy. And so since fantasy alone can be described as mystical and suspenseful and dramatic, when you add in a romance that kind of matches that same beat, makes the story even better. And so Romantasy it's both genres, I think, that are equal. The romance and the fantasy, one doesn't take over the other. The plots are very parallel. Romance isn't just a subplot. And so it comes natural. Like, who doesn't love an amazing love story? You know?
Right?
And
Yes.
whether it has a little bit more friction or maybe it's a little darker, I can recommend the Shepherd King duology, because they're just subtle intros to the magic system with romance. So they, like, the Shepherd King duology is a little bit darker, a little bit gothic, a little bit more grit to it. And the Crimson Moth is a lot more romantic and a bit more reserved in the tone. It's a little bit of a softer tone. And then Caraval, that series.
That one was good, yeah.
That one's a bit more whimsical, like Willy Wonka, and kind of Wizard of Oz type.
I think it's considered more like YA, but honestly, it really is like a good introduction, because it's pretty much about the characters that fall in love with each other in the journey, but there's like added, like, what would happen if you're thrown into a world in like a carnival, basically, and you have to go on this magical journey. And it's not like you have to remember, like, the secret key to this is XYZ, you know what I mean? It's not like this complicated, complex map. It's kind of like, it's just super simple, but done in like a really, really good way, you know?
Yeah.
For me, I have always been a big reader, and so like when I was little, I read the Harry Potter books and all that, so I was already big into the fantasy reading space, and sort of that was, I guess, my jumping off point was, as I got older, I started realizing that like I really like craved the relationships, and so I changed into like the Twilight space, those kind of things. And then I got older again, and I was like, no, I want something more. Like I need a richer story to satisfy me because of my love of fantasy as it was. Like I needed something more, and so I did. Fourth Wing was probably the thing that got me into Romantasy as a whole, but I was already kind of on that gradual trajectory with, like, especially with Shadowhunters. I think that I would probably attribute that to how easily I was able to get into Romantasy as a genre, because there was so much. It is a very rich world. I would say it's a great, if you think you're going to like high fantasy, Shadowhunters is a great series to kind of get you into that, because it starts out in a very small setting. It's a very isolated story. But like with Fourth Wing, the more it goes on, the bigger the world, the bigger everything gets. And you get to learn all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of crazy spin-offs and backstories and all that kind of stuff. So like I was already in that space. I love the relationships. And so that was probably my jumping off point into the Romantasy genre before I even knew what the Romantasy genre was.
Obviously, everyone writes a book, but, you know, there's going to be a variety of tropes found within all genres, romantasy, romance, anything like that. Some examples can be like slow burn, fated mates, enemies to lovers, which has to be done just right, you know? Forced proximity, why choose, which is one of my favorites, and found family are just some of the examples. So what are our favorite and least favorites to read? I mean, I kind of said it. One of my favorites, I don't know necessarily in romantasy. I love why choose books, and I will read the heck out of them in like a romance setting. Like, give me a hockey romance with why choose, I will devour that. Like, it's one of my favorites. But like, I don't know if I really dig it in fantasy. I don't know if I've ever actually come across one yet in fantasy where I've been like, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
There was one, and it's a book it's called The Forbidden Air Trilogy by Amelia J. Also, she's going to be a Romantasy con, so I'm super excited. But one of them, it's kind of like funny, unhinged banter. And I kind of just like love that in fantasy because it's so funny. Like they could be in the middle of a war and they're like fighting each other, and all of a sudden one guy goes and says something funny and the other one's like, are you like, they're just, you know, are you stupid? I don't know, whatever. So it's just really like you're in the high stakes and the tension, and there's just one joke and it just breaks the tension, and it kind of just makes it so fun, like that banter. And then when the two like main characters have like that banter of like that tension banter, I think that's like my favorite.
You should probably read Vow to Hate You by Kay Riley. I think you would love it. It has a lot of that really gritty banter, but it's contemporary. Sorry, there's no hockey in it though.
Yeah. And I mean, least favorites? I don't think I really have a least favorite, but if we're going that way, honestly, I'm kind of almost tired of the fated mage trope because I just feel like it's overdone. No offense. But like, I feel like I've read so many books where it's like fated mates, and it's like you already know before the plot hits. It's like, I want something where like you don't know that that's even happening, and then it's like shocking and it like, you know, drags you in. Because I just feel like everything you read, it's like, oh, it's fated mates, and you're like, okay, cool. And then it's like in the first 3 chapters, it's like, oh, fated mates, like we're already gonna be together, but it's like you're missing that tension, that drag, like all the good things that like lead up to that romance, you know.
There's going to be reoccurring themes. It's the trick isn't just to tell a good story for an author, but it's to tell one that either has a unique setting or unique environment or plot, and then to kind of bring something new.
You can only write one thing, you know, so many ways. So,
Period.
I'd say so. Favorite. I'm a sucker for a slow burn. That's definitely probably one of my favorite tropes. I don't know. This is the like, I'm here for the vibes and I'm here to have fun and I'm new to this. I don't know like all like the typical tropes that are like across all the genre. So I feel like I don't know ones I don't like because I've kind of stuck to, I guess I've ended up sticking to the tropes that I like, whether on purpose or accidentally. So that's kind of, but I agree, Nikki, with what you're saying about like with the fated mates thing. I've recently been reading a lot that have that trope in it. And I do feel like either I'm just, sometimes like I'm very much interested, I can read a book and be like, hey, tell me all these different things about it. And I'll be like, I had fun. It was a great read. So like sometimes I don't like when I read things like Fourth Wing or ACOTAR, like the first time I don't catch things that like some other people already catch like from the get-go, and I'm just like la da da, here we go, dragons.
You're a passenger princess.
I was gonna say you're a passenger princess. Yeah.
So I do like
with me.
Yeah, but like even with that, I have read a couple books where I'm like, okay, we're going down the fated mates path. Here we go.
Dude, like I read ACOTAR and then I started my Bookstagram and I saw so many people like, oh my gosh, this is my theory and this, and I caught this in the first book and this and I'm like, how did y'all figure that out? Like I sat here and slowly read book by book and I was like, oh, I didn't catch. And then there's people, I've read these books probably at least 3 times now, and there's still things that people are like, oh, this is my theory for the next book. Shout out to Sarah. When are we getting book 6? It's fine. We love you.
It's fine.
But it's like people have so many like theories. And where did you find this like little nugget of a rabbit? Like what the heck? It's wild.
Shout out to Lexi and Nicole over at Fantasy Fangirls and their deep dives.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yes, FFG. Love you.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing us together. So unlike you ladies, Fated Mates is my favorite. I love it and I devour it. And so I think that's why like I'm all in for some of these romance. But a good soulmate story, a good you're supposed to be together and you finally found each other is my fave. I also love the humor and the banter and the rom-coms. My least favorite, honestly, guys, I'm getting really tired of slow burns. I'm like, just
Fair.
Oh, I love you, Pencole, but yes.
Yeah. Like, we need to stop slow burning and they need to start doing the deed on page 1. That's what she's saying.
Just get to it.
That's exactly what I'm hearing.
Page 1. The first sentence, they're already into it.
I've read a good handful of those books.
I mean,
and they're always very good.
They are.
Yeah, so if it's too slow, it starts to drive me crazy. But if they hook up in the, I'll say in the first half of the book, we're good.
I completely agree. I would have to say that that's my least favorite as well. Right now, anyway, this week. But some of my favorites are second chance romance. I love also the humor and the banter and the grumpy sunshine, and even ones where two people have to train together and they have that forced closeness that can build tension. That's fun.
Yeah, forced proximity is a good one too. I do love that.
I like the grumpy sunshines, honestly, where it's like the opposite, where she's the grump and he's the sunshine.
We need
Yes,
more.
yes.
I feel like it's just stereotypical to be like the guy's like this broody, grumpy asshole, and she's like, oh, la-di-da. I like it the opposite way because it's cool.
Yeah, same.
I would say one of my favorites is definitely enemies to lovers. I love any way you spin that is probably going to be one of my absolute favorites. My least favorite is, I don't really have a least favorite, but if I had to pick one that maybe it's just I haven't seen it done well yet in anything I've read, is accidental pregnancy or marriage of convence. Those two are kind of tied for me. Yeah. I know. I know. I'm sorry.
Well, I have to agree with Carrie. My least favorite is the accidental pregnancy. I'm a fur baby mom, not a real child mom, and I like to keep it that way in my stories as well. So,
shout out to broccoli.
Yes, exactly. I love me some broccoli. Yeah, so I like
Listen, for Nikki, it's not the pregnancy. It's what happens around the pregnancy.
That part. But also, like, I will agree with you guys. I haven't ever seen, like, a romantasy where it's done well.
I think you're right.
Also, for anyone that's actually watching or listening to this, if you can't tell, I'm a huge romance nerd. So that's kind of why I love that trope. Because in a romance book, if you're reading, like, a contemporary romance, it could be done so super well. Like, it brings the characters together. It teaches them things. And in a fantasy world, it's like, no offense, but I don't want to be fighting in a war or trying to save my country or do whatever and be 4 months pregnant. I don't see how that works, you know? Yep. So I agree on that.
But my favorite, that's hard because I really do like a lot of like a really wide band. I also really love Why Choose books, but again, I haven't seen Why Choose that isn't contemporary. So like, if anybody knows of a good Why Choose in the fantasy world, please let Nikki and I know so we can read them.
I want to know.
But forced proximity, the one bed at the end, like that tension is where it's gonna explode, and that's my favorite. That's by far my favorite.
All right. So Romantasy is a marriage of all things fantasy and romance together. YA's fantasy is for young adults, more like PG-13, while Romantasy is definitely rated R for adults. Contemporary romance doesn't involve fantasy elements like magic, mythical creatures, or various race of beings like fae, or vampires, or werewolves, witches. What books' magic systems have been your favorites to read? Mine, I like side characters. I like side animal characters. Wherever they are. I like animals that talk.
Like little frogs.
Like little frogs. Dragons.
Mythical creatures. Great sidekicks. Yeah.
I'm a fan of them.
So when you make waffles in the morning.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then probably fae, as far as like in the beings realm, fae and witches will probably be my favorite. I haven't read that many.
So you're
werewolves.
a Throne of Glass girly, right there.
Okay, so it's really funny with Throne of Glass because I do not rank it as high as like ACOTAR. I actually put ACOTAR over Throne of Glass, which I know some people think I'm crazy for.
No way.
I know. But I will say I spend more time thinking about ACOTAR than I do Throne of Glass. However, with that said, like the witches in particular, I'll just leave it at that. The witches in that series like took over my life, and that's the plot line that I think about now. If I think about the series, that definitely took the cake for me in that series.
Magic system, the Kindred's Curse saga, so the Spark of the Everflame and the different magics in the different realms, I ate that up. And so I identify myself as a Phanos girly with taking care of animals and wanting to be able to have that connection with nature and animals and be able to kind of chat with them and be a Dr. Dolittle of sorts. I really stuck to that one. And so just, yeah, having the different magics in the different realms was just super cool within the Kindred's Curse saga. So Spark of the Everflame, Glow, Heat, and soon to be Burn.
I'm an Arbros girly, but that whole magic system spoke to my soul. I love fairies and I love fun creatures that are super funny and adorable. God, how do you pick? I love them.
Right?
There's so many good ones. Like a rich magic system. Like I said, fantasy is my jam. So like the magic and all of that is what I enjoy. So one of my favorites was, besides the ones already mentioned, probably in Quicksilver. Like I've always been fascinated by science. And I was really into that as a kid. And so like the alchemy aspect of it was really fascinating to me.
I agree with that too.
That's a really good. That's a really good one. I'm so excited for Brimstone to come out later this year.
Yes.
But I am gonna have to piggyback back off of Reed and Steph that even though, if you guys have been following along, I have not yet read Heat, and I need to. You guys have, I need to because Burn's coming out soon, and I need to get on that, and then I can probably pick. I did the little BuzzFeed questionnaire. I think I'm also Phanos. But I have not, based on that, but I have not read Heat, so I don't know the intricacies of all of the different realms to be able to pick, I guess, which one I would like. I don't know, I like the really dark and scary one where they can, like, go into your mind.
You're an Umbros.
Yes. So I think those two are probably two of my favorites so far.
Pisces and me is a Meros.
Which one's the Sky and Seas?
The Seas, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to throw out one that y'all probably have not read. I'm going to butcher this author's last name, and I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. The name of this series is called The Curse of Ophelia by Nicole Platania. I think that's how you say her last name. Anyway, I literally devoured this series last year. It was so good. So basically, like from the beginning, the main character, Ophelia, is in her kind of like, it's kind of similar to like Spark of the Everflame. So she's in her realm, and they basically have to fight off this curse. So they have to travel through the different realms and, you know, do different quests and figure things out. But there's also kind of magic from the gods that kind of like watch over the world and like all these different things. And like reading all these books and like learning about the different powers or the different realms and what makes them tick or why they believe what they believe or why their ruling system is the way it is. It was so interesting to watch. Like, you know, as they went to each different place, they have to respect like the customs and the traditions and the rules. And it was kind of cool to read all of that. I highly recommend that series, by the way, because the next comes out and I think it's September, sometime in the next few months. The last book of the series comes out. I'm gonna cry.
How many total?
That sounds great.
It is 5 books and a novella, so it's 6 in total.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about my favorite, Spice and Shadow Daddies.
Yay!
So, right. Steamy scenes in Romantasy books are typically given a spice rating from 1 to 5 using chili peppers, where 1 is off-page sex scenes and 5 explains it all in graphic detail. So you as a reader will find your own comfort level as you build up within the genre. So many MMCs, or main male characters, are referred to as shadow daddies because they have some sort of shadow magic and are morally gray characters. So who is each of us, our favorite FMC MMC duo? So female main character, male main character, and why? I know it's so hard to choose. So I love me some Zayden and Violet, you guys, from Fourth Wing, but my favorite it has to be Luther and Diem from the Kindred's Curse saga. So Luther,
it makes me angry.
So Zayden, Kingfisher, Rhysand, they're all like my book boyfriends, but Luther, Prince Luther, Corbois, poor boys. He's my book husband, and I've always said that he's basically just the closest to my actual husband because he's so devoted to Diem, and there's nothing that can get in the way of that. Diem and Luther, even though Diem has some moments, I've got moments too. So.
They have qualities that I love, and I have to agree with Heather. Sometimes each of them got on my nerves, kind of like Iron Flame. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So with that
I was
being
beefing with
said-
Violet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, those Luther and Diem are pretty close. I still have to give it to Nesta and Cassian. I'm waiting for someone else to take that spot. I think I'm close. I think with LJ Andrews reading any of her books, I think I'm going to get there. So they will soon be replaced. Why Nesta and Cassian? I really just love there's also a devotion there with Cassian and Nesta, like Luther to Diem. That devotion is there, and I think it feels a bit more raw and gritty because Nessa's going through what she's going through, and she's a really tough character. I just really admire Cassian for sticking to it, but having such a good spirit, and also being tough but fun, and always just there for Nesta when she needed it the most.
And this is The Court of Silver Flames, so book 5 of the ACOTAR series, for those that don't know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love Cassian's emotional maturity too. That's fantastic in an MMC.
Even though he's the comic relief, he's still very emotionally intact and intuitive.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Carrie, how about you?
My favorite FMC MMC duo is probably going to be Arin and Slade from the Plated Prisoner series. It's a series that gets a lot of love, but it also has some darker themes to it, so it's definitely a series that most people have to tread lightly with, but I love the evolution of their relationship throughout that series. It's so beautiful, and he's from the get-go is just so supportive, and is just like, he's one of those MMCs that like, he knows who she is and like what she can do, but he doesn't push her, but he knows how to get her there without having to flat out be like, here you go, here's everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, one of the things I love about Arin and Slade is that he doesn't just hand her everything, and he just encourages her and helps her in any way he can without just handing it to her on a platter. He lets her save herself, essentially. And I love that.
Doesn't she also have a really unique story about coming into her own? Like, she's had to kind of shed and unlearn some things. I haven't read it yet.
She definitely has to unlearn a lot throughout the course of the story, because she starts out, as the series Plated Prisoner implies, she is in a prison of sorts, and and that's part of what Slade does to help her kind of unlearn that she doesn't have to be a prisoner, that she is more than what everyone has made her feel that she is. And that's what her journey is all about, the self-discovery and kind of freeing herself from those preconceived notions.
That's great.
So a blanket spoiler warning for the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas before I start.
Carrie, earmuffs.
It's probably not anything that she doesn't already know, but Aelin, Galathinius, and Rowan Whitethorn are my top tier. As Throne of Glass is my Roman Empire, that is my favorite series that I've ever read. Rebecca, Aelin and Rowan are my favorite, honestly, because they went through so much together. I mean, he punched her in the face when they first met. So, I mean, they went from that dynamic to never wanting to leave each other's side and him going to the ends of the earth to save her. I think their story, like the ups and downs of it, is just incredible. And the fact that the whole Fated Mates was Sarah J. Maas did it very interestingly, which I think made it a lot more impactful. So that was Sarah, hands down, my favorite.
Great answer.
Although Dorian and Manon are a very close second. Very close. They're amazing.
Going back to the last question we had, kind of, the why choose thing, I do actually know of a book where I really liked it. I don't know if I would technically consider this why choose. It's the Bonds That Tie series by Jay Bree. Technically, it's not a why choose because it's her and her 6 bonds, but they're only devoted to her, not each other. So it's like you technically could count it, but I don't know. But
yeah.
Isn't the Never List on my choose too?
Yes, I just haven't read it yet.
So like,
and I believe it's fantasy too.
Next up on my TBR. But I think that one is a
that reminds me of a TV show that was done by the Wachowski siblings, and I think it's called Sense8, and they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was a book first. I would have to look that up, but anyway.
But yeah. So I do like their dynamic, is why I brought it up. Well, I was also thinking about it while you all were talking as well. Because I was like, who's my favorite? I can't say the same thing. Because my original answer was gonna be Cassian and Nesta, because I just like, I'm going to give them a shout out, because what I really love about them, to add on to like your answer stuff, is he never like, she's going through all this stuff and he lets her be her own person, kind of finds herself. He's always encouraging. He's never dismissive of her. He's never a jerk to her, in the sense of like, oh, you're just being a baby type of thing.
He gave
like,
her the space she needed.
Yeah, he gives her the space.
Lovingly.
Keep holding out your hands.
Yeah. So like, I love that about him. But yeah, I really do like. But I really do like the Bonsai Tie series. That one, I thought it was so well done, because over 6 books, each of the 5 guys who are her bonds kind of like find something different about her. And so as the story progresses, she's like, Bond 1 is like my heart. Bond 2 is my soul. Bond 3 is the person I need, like when this is happening. Bond 4 is if I need someone to talk to, this is my ear. Like each of them takes a different piece of her and like
her
fulfills that whole thing. And then even though technically they're not like with each other, because there's like 2 brothers and then all friends, even though they're not romantically together, they still like,
you bad girl.
They're still like, even though they start out like hating each other, they all become closer and connected.
Throw in 5 chili peppers for some fun.
I mean,
fun.
Technically, you could go 6 because there's 6 of them. So, but yeah. So I think that one's I like that one. I just love that each of them definitely takes a piece of her, and they just kind of work together as a whole, even though, and then there's funny ass banter in it. So that's what makes it great too.
I'm bumping that up on my TBR.
Well, I'm laughing because also I was going to say super simple and sweet. It's Luther and Diem.
I love it.
And then I love Violet and Xaden as well, but I mean, both frustrated me too much to stay on top of my list. So Diem and Luther, but I like it mainly because he lets her be her, and also is like following her to support her in her journey.
We'll find out in 2026
for sure.
Oh, stop it! I have to read before we interview Penn Cole, everyone.
That would be
you have like this much amount of time, my friend.
I know,
it's got like 3 weeks, girl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you do realize that's like a month, like less than a month.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah, I'll get on it. It's like 1,000+ pages. It's fine.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Do the audiobooks.
And my husband just finished it, so
fine. Tabim.
You want to know when I finished this series?
You already let Tamim beat you, Heather. It's too late now.
I know.
Honestly,
I'm not even gonna lie. I sped read through those books when it was the first time around, when Fantasy Fangirls were like, oh, it's our book club of the month. And I read the first one, but they were like, oh, the second half is going to be like spoilers for the whole thing. And I was like, no, I have to listen to the whole thing before, because I want to listen to the spoilers. I was at work, and that was when I was working like overnights from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I was sitting at my desk with one headphone in and then my headset on, listening to them and talking at the same time. And I was at like 2-point speed listening, and then I'd have to pause it and then answer and then play it again. I was like, someone's getting through this.
That is multitasking, Nikki.
I'm done.
I'm telling you, I finished it, I think, with like an hour to spare before that whole podcast. And I was like, okay,
you deserve an award for this. honorary award.
You mean like how I told you? Oh, I don't even know if the Reed and Rebecca heard this before, but I was telling them we're only on day, like, technically now we're on day 7 because it's after midnight, but it was on day 6, and I'm already 12 books in this month, so that tells you how crazy I am.
That is wild.
Redonkulous.
Woo.
Okay,
I have a
Steph, you
goal.
can go now.
What is your goal?
Technically, my goal on Goodreads says 250,
Good
but
gravy.
I'm trying to hit 300.
No, I didn't see that on
Jesus,
Goodreads.
Nikki.
I did 101 last year, and I was pushing it to try to make 100. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
probably
thinking.
won't make it.
Trying
Nowhere
to hit
close.
25.
Yes.
You are a busy woman.
Yeah.
20 to 25 is about where, I'm there for the year. For the year, guys.
Yeah, for the year. For the year.
Listen, I'm single. I have no kids. I mean, I technically have a cat, but that doesn't require any maintenance. But,
That's
I'm
fair.
single.
Yes.
That also
That
means if
part.
anybody knows anyone out there, please send them.
Yeah.
And me and Carrie as well.
Shout out to the Singles Club.
Love it.
I don't have much to do on my time off, so it's like, read.
Same.
That's about it.
Imagine if you found like another literary major and he's like also into books and he's like, hey, I know the best romance books, and you're like, what?
And he plays hockey.
And
It's
he's
my fault.
a hockey player. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
trying to find a hockey player, guys. Like, you don't
Please
understand.
go listen to our
Guys, that's
Kendra
how we lose
Burrito.
Nikki forever. We will never see Nikki again.
Bro, what if that's what happens? Like,
love that.
I just literally started writing a book as of yesterday. I want to become a published author. That's like my dream goal.
And you can do
What
it.
if someone finds my book and goes, hey, I really liked it? And then that's how I meet my future.
We're
Man, there you go.
manifesting it for you. There you go.
Within the romantasy genre, you can find many variations like dark romance, paranormal romance, monster romance, urban fantasy, and even twisted fairy tales. The Empyrean series has dragon riders, ACOTAR has fae with Illyrian and Valkyrie warriors, and you can even find powerful godlike hybrids in the series like the Kindred Saga. Is there any section of romantasy that you are more drawn to or that you want to explore and haven't yet? For me, I would like to dive into the sci-fi type of romance where you meet in other lifetimes, like parallel lives, reincarnations, and that kind of old ancient magic. I would love to read more about that.
Honestly, I would have to agree. I would like to read something that's kind of a little off kilter. Like the stuff that we've already talked about is kind of like mainstream romantasy and like kind of quintessential what you think of when you think of romantasy, or even like just fantasy on a whole. You don't think about things like Steph was saying. So yeah, I would have to agree. That's probably something I would be drawn to. There's not really a section that I would say that like as of right now that I'm like, yes, this is my thing. I guess I'm trying to figure out my space within the romantasy genre, but I haven't found it yet. I just kind of like a little bit of everything right now.
Okay, you can be a melting pot.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of like everything so far that I've read, but I just recently dipped my toes into monster romance with Ice Planet Barbarian, and Ruby Dixon is a genius. I want my own big blue alien. So manifest that for me, Nikki.
Listen,
it's easy to judge monster romance before you actually read a book with a monster romance. Beauty and the Beast, I mean, that was pretty much a monster romance.
Yep.
Who says that they can't be told just as well as regular romances? Like you said, Ruby Dixon did a great job.
Yes, and there are so many more on my TBR that I can't even think of right now that are different types of monsters, minotaurs, and all that sort of jazz that I just want to see how it's done. You take that as you wish.
We got that.
So I read a book like last year, and I'm so excited because book 3 comes out later this year. It's kind of like a fairy tale, kind of Rapunzel retelling type of thing. So it's a book called A Song of Shadow and Starlight by Morgan Gauthier. I really loved this book because I also want to say that this is also a good story for like an introduction into Romantasy, because it's not super detailed and in your face, kind of like plot holes and like subgenres and this and that, and it's not like overly complicated, but it's done so super well. But I really liked that underlying kind of fairy tale Disney vibe kind of thing, like the whole Rapunzel thing that you had going on. So I think it would be interesting to see more of those types of books.
I agree. I've been really loving retellings lately. I've mentioned Reign of Cinders and Glass, and that was a Cinderella retelling that I really loved. Like you said, very light on the magic, but it kind of feels familiar with the Cinderella or the fairy tale essence of it.
Okay, so my Passenger Princess is showing. Would Crescent City be considered an urban fantasy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to read more urban fantasy. Because I haven't read Crescent City yet, but I would like to read more urban fantasy because I kind of like the idea of putting the fantasy world into modern times. Since most of what I've read tends not necessarily medieval, but seems to be more along that time frame. And then Twisted Fairy Tales probably are. I'm gonna have to check out the Rapunzel book because that sounds right up my alley.
Cell phones. They have coffee shops. They have a library.
Go to like clubs and dancing and do all these like modern things.
Yeah, I love my dragons. I love the more mainstream romantasy because that's what I've been introduced to, and that's what I know most of. I would not say no to exploring definitely some more Twisted Fairy Tales just because of the Disney in me. I loved Once Upon a Time, like as a show, and so getting those twisted. Just retellings of the same stories that we know and love would be pretty cool. And then I would not say no to monster romance after hearing Nicole and Lexi read some of these spicy scenes in their Q&A about Kraken and tentacles.
That was a funny podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And hopefully you've learned a little something about Romantasy that you didn't know before. Next up on Sunshine Ladies Unraveling Tales, we'll be interviewing author L.J. Andrews, who just released her Viking series with Broken Souls and Bones. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.